What's up, guys? Welcome to Creating 2019, the summit of nonstop magic. And we have been jamming nonstop with such amazing speakers. All of these female epic leaders have been gifting us so much love and wisdom. And, someone said on the live the other day that this is thousands of dollars of free coaching. And I really hope that you are watching to really soak in all the magic and take it all in. What's up, Ernesto, Virginia, Chris? And today we are diving with the amazing Lisanne van Lansbeek. I hope I said that right. I'm gonna wait for her to jump on to bring her live, but she is someone that has been really dedicating herself to be an instrument for people that are experiencing resistance in their bodies. And she works with a lot of people that have experienced cancer. She works with a lot of people that have that are going through these changes, whether it's death, whether it's disease. But she really is about stressing the importance of honoring our bodies. And I'm super excited to bring her on board. She is someone that I feel is very knowledgeable in the matter and has offered even me gifts on, really making peace with my body and befriending the body. For so many years, I negated the physical body because my spiritual journey was all about making it about my spiritual body. And there was some contrast in that I had to look in and lean into and start embracing. So I see her on live. So without further ado, I'm going to bring her on. Super excited to us on and talk to you about such an important topic. What's up, beauty? Oh, something happened. Let's bring her back on. Yes.
Hey. Oh my goodness. My thing is breaking and everything is going everywhere. So I'm like trying to figure out live here. Good morning.
How are you, Donna? Can you bring yourself a little bit up into the camera so we
I
can
know, but
see you?
it's dropping. I'm like, trying to find props. Like literally I just broke the whole thing.
Oh, sorry.
Let me sort it out.
Adam, by the
Hey
way, you are
guys.
in the lead of our competition. For the person that has shared the most live is going to get a 45-minute session with me. So make sure you do that. Yeah, and hashtag replay for those watching on the replay. There you go, beauty.
Working on it. I'm so excited for this.
Me
If
too.
it would stay where I want it to. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I completed a water fast for 5 days.
I am so proud of you.
I'm like, what?
I know.
So many shifts have come with that, which you know. So, first of all, I want to introduce you properly. Can you share with us who you are, what you do, and what you're about?
Definitely. Thank you for having me, by the way. I really am always in awe with your magic and the goddess and like just like your beingness. And that is so important for me and people in how we're being in the world. And it's not, yes, it's the things we say and the things we do, but how do people make you feel when you're in each other's presence? And how are you moving and shifting to the world? And which is
Make
from
me
the very
tear up, girl.
No, but it's from the first moment that I saw you, I was just like, there is something that I really appreciate in you and that we get to acknowledge from each other, right?
Thank you.
And me,
Yes.
My name is Lisanne. I'm the founder of My Heart Moves, and My Heart Moves really came about when I was still a dancer, personal training and fitness, doing all the things. And I found that there was more, I had more to give. I had more to give to the world, an extra deeper layer than just being a pretty face on X Factor. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just knew there was more. And I wanted all my work to come from something deeper. Even though I would be that pretty face on X Factor, there was a deeper message that I would be able to portray. And from there, my heart moves was born. My heart moves, my body, my life. And I found that with all the noise that is out there right now, telling you how is the right way to live, whether it's personal development, success, food, moving your body, like there's so much noise, but we are the ones living in our body 24/7. We have been in this home for our whole life. The thing, though, is that we in our society have mostly been disconnected from that. And we're very much living up here where 90% happens down there. And there's such infinite wisdom that if we really tap into our heart and our soul and our intuition and the signals that we're getting, because it's always 24/7, everything is talking to us. It's just whether or not we're listening to the external things or are we listening to the internal things. And I was like, actually, when people really start moving from that place of what feels true and what feels in alignment and what our heart and our soul are asking of us, that's when we really come in alignment in our happiest, most beautiful place. But we are also then the biggest gift to the world. And I was just like, oh, wait a minute. When I start really moving my life from my heart, everything clicked into place. Literally from like being stuck in the dance industry and not knowing like what I wanted to do anymore, going into actually opening up my diary and like looking like what is giving me energy and what is taking my energy.
Love that
And just being
question.
like, okay, I'm gonna do more.
Let's just pause there because that's such a great question. What is taking your energy and what is giving you energy? This is such an important question.
And it was before I even did much of coaching or personal development or any of it. But it was just something that came natural to me. And it was just like, well, if I'm not happy, then there's something not working. And I get to change the baseline of what I do on a day-to-day basis. So that was just me starting to listen of like, what is giving me energy? Where do I feel good? Where do I not feel good? What is taking me? What is making me constricted? And as soon as I started following those whispers, everything started to align. And I rolled into the fitness industry, teaching and working with bodies and like realigning mind, body, spirit, and which was phenomenal. And I was like, okay, so like holistic mind, body, like movement and coaching and training and bringing it all together because I was like, no one is doing that. There's the whole somatics and the wisdom of the body. And then there's the way we're training and moving our body. Like, why is no one bringing that together? Because it's all one. So just when I was like, okay, so that is going to be my heart moves. It's going to be my jam. This is it. 2016 was going to be my year. And then I found out that my dad was going to pass away from cancer. And he ended up only living 2 months more from that moment. And it was just roughly this time that we got the news. And that dropped me into seeing how little aftercare is out there and how much support for again the human, the soul going through that experience of any life-threatening disease or any health scare or life shock where you're just like, hold up, wait a minute, what's going on in my life right now? And it feels like the rug is being pulled underneath you and there's all this support for you to get better. But then once you get better, it's like off you go, back to life, back to normal. And it's like, what is normal actually? Like, we're not the same person anymore, but then who are we now? And how do we navigate this process from a place of listening to our truth instead of what everyone else tells us to do? And it takes a lot of strength and courage when everyone knows the way for you to survive to then stand in your own truth, which might not be what everyone else is telling you to do.
Exactly. This is so.
And yeah, that's been 3 years of specializing into everything around cancer.
This is
And
so good. So now you specialize in cancer and you also specialize with people that are experiencing resistance in their body and really want to experience that freedom within their body, using their bodies as that sacred temple and navigator. Let's talk about cancer because this is a topic that is really in the forefront. So many people are experiencing it, and yet there's a shame that goes with it. So not a lot of people are talking about it. Um, What do you feel it is, and how does it manifest in the body from your perspective?
Mm. There's so many schools of thought. And if straight in the beginning, because it's such a delicate subject and we don't really, in a way we know, but a lot of people are not willing to say what it really, because like the research shows like clearly about around 90% or so is lifestyle related. And then you come straight away with the shame because people feel like they've created it themselves. But what we don't realize is that lifestyle is not just like the diet and or the smoking or not or all of it. It's our whole environment. It is stress and emotions and traumas, but it's also the toxins that are in the air. Are we getting enough daylight? Are we getting enough sleep? There is like our environment and the way we're living is every single thing that goes in and around us. So the shame and the guilt of feeling like I called this upon myself, we get to be softer and gentler in that because we only did the best that we knew how. And a lot of people haven't been taught how to suppress and express emotions and heal from traumas or from pain or from suffering because it's only been recently that we're all starting to be okay with vulnerability and sharing and expressing from a powerful place, not from a victim place. So I tend to stay away from where it comes from and what is the cure because every single human is different. And there is definitely some commonalities in how we have been treating ourselves, how we have been moving through the world up until that point. Because cancer, like a tumor to grow, takes about 8 years. From the very first moment, it starts like cells start clustering
Mm-hmm.
up until we realize it's actually like someone has cancer and there is a tumor and it gets detectable. It takes about 8 years. So it's not just something that just pops up in our experience.
Right.
It's been there, but we haven't realized. Sorry, I just got a call. Um, so what I tend to go into is really like, okay, so where are we now? Because it doesn't really matter what has gone on up till now. And in a way it does because we get to clean out and restore and heal and process. But what mostly matters is where are we now and what is present, what is coming up for healing, whether that's physically, emotionally, spiritually, all the things. And then from there, how do we choose to move and navigate from here? Because there's such an insecurity about life already, but throwing cancer in the mix and it's like life on steroids. So how do we navigate that process?
And I think it's life on steroids because all of a sudden the urgency of life is highlighted. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I always say to my clients, like, if we knew our expiration dates, we'd be living a whole different life. We'd be more
Yeah.
on purpose. We'd be like, there would be no space for the bullshit. So I think when someone receives a notice like you got cancer, it's almost like you got mail. Time to wake the fuck up, right?
True.
So where do we start in honoring, you know, you when I asked you what do we want to jam about, you said honoring life, honoring the body, and how disease and death can also be such a gift in honoring that life. How do we honor this body? Because sometimes, and you know me, we've had this conversation in person. I had no idea how to honor my body because I was so disconnected from the physical body, right? I was so outside of my body. And when my acupuncturist would give me needles, he'd be like, "You are so outside of your body. We need to bring you in." So let's talk about that because I think this is so important.
It definitely is. And that's the thing, like, as much as I specialize in working with cancer, and that teaches me so much about life and how people are actually living, even when they don't have that health scare or anything, like you say, like that urgency. It's like, are we actually appreciating and honoring the life that we've been gifted to have?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for me, like, my dad passing away taught me so much. It was the biggest gift I could ever receive because I knew he would have wanted another breath. I get to be so grateful that I got to wake up today and have that breath and have the ability to choose how I'm going to spend my time on this earth. And the honoring of our body, that's the thing. I've been almost lucky to grow up in a way. It's like everything has pros and cons, like because as much as I grew up as a dancer, like I'm so in tune with my body. Like
Mhm.
I learned to listen and be with my body. And at the same time, there was a lot of rejection, punishment, like it not being good enough. There was always something wrong. There was always something that needed to be better. So as much as I was very in tune and aware, I also very much didn't want to be in it because there was something wrong with it. So you get this duality. And for me, it really came down to start listening. Start listening in the little moments. And it's a practice. And that is one that I still get to be in as well. It's not like it's going to be perfect. So I just listen to my body, it tells me what to do, and then we do it, and then it's great. Like it's a practice because it's a very, very subtle language, and it's a very subtle choices that really help me. Like just a simple thing of feeling, really trying to feel into what it would look like to make a certain decision. So I would literally be, for example, in the supermarket and wanting to buy the chocolate, for example, but I can feel the tension building up in my body. I can feel my jaw tensing. I feel like I'm picking my nails. I'm like chewing on like there's little signals in the body that are saying like, oh, because you're not gonna feel great after this, regardless of whether it's healthy or not. Like it's the energy in which we consume it, and it's how we feel afterwards. And it's like another excuse to beat myself up. Is it another excuse to feel like I failed? To prove that I'm not good enough, that I'm worthy, there's something wrong with me, I can't do this, all the things. It's not so much, for example, the food, but is it actually trusting and loving my body and making the choices that feel like light and expanding versus the ones that feel constricting and like icky and like there's just it feels off. And the more we practice that in the small decisions, the easier it gets.
I love this, and I want to dive deeper into the resistance with our bodies because I feel that we've been brainwashed to, and I see this in so many different cultures where we've been brainwashed to look at one specific type as beauty, as beautiful, right? In my country, it was like the blonde, blue eye, skinny. It was like that was gorgeous, right? In India, it's the light skin with the beautiful black hair. And I've seen it in different cultures where they have this poster of what beauty is. And then what happens is we're all different. We're all different, and our weight fluctuates, our sizes. I'm short, right? I could never be in my country the top blue eye thin model because I'm freaking short and I have freckles and all this stuff. So I grew up with that complex that I had to learn to rewrite in my 20s and see myself as beautiful. Let's jump into that because I also know that there are women that struggle with thyroid, for example. So the weight thing is more than just, you know, changing what they eat. This is something that they're really struggling with, and that has a really big impact in self-worth and how we feel about ourselves.
Definitely. And that is like everything is connected. Like we think like, oh yeah, the external, but then like there is how we feel and think about ourselves, and then there is how it manifests in the body through certain conditions and certain like it is all interlinked. And what I'm finding is that when really people start shifting into, I want to take the best care of myself. I want to nurture and honor the vessel, the vehicle that I have to experience this life. As soon as we tap into that and move from there, things start realigning and things start working better. And also we start attracting the right things for us. So I came across like I for 6 years I was trying to figure out what was wrong with my body because I was always bloated and tired and things. And I kept on looking for it. I was just like, something feels off. Something doesn't feel right. And I know everyone is telling me to be in the best shape of my life. I need to do this and this and this. And we can start feeling like well, I must be crazy because nothing is working. Or, like it's just, well, it's my thyroid. Like I'm just stuck with that. Or that's just is what it is. And what I'm finding is that by honoring and learning to start accepting the imperfections and not accepting them from like they're just going to stay what it is and it is what it is for the rest of my life, but actually just embracing that as a part of ourselves that we get to work with and that we get to learn how to navigate with. When you start doing that, that's the first part. It's like instead of denying, rejecting, and being mad at a certain part of ourselves, whether that is looks, whether that's height, whether that is the relationship with food, whether that is like emotions, trauma, like anything, we're not embracing that part of ourselves. Like it's never going to shift. And can be very painful because I work with a lot of clients that are like, but my body failed me. Like I feel like it didn't do what it was meant to do. So there's so much hurt and pain.
Yeah.
So we drop into forgiveness and we drop into just having a conversation with it. You're like, what do you need? Do we ask that to our bodies? What do you need? What are you requiring to become more vibrant and healthy and alive? And then the right things, the right people, the right teachers, the right nutritional systems, the right doctors, the right things cross our path because we're making a commitment to honor and appreciate and embrace life and our bodies and ourselves.
I love this because it took me all the way up until my 30s to really self-accept and love my body and honor my body. And now I'm like the happiest 37-year-old where I'm just like, I love my body. I'll be walking around naked. And my husband's like, what the hell? But it took years of that, right? Of that rewriting and reframing and looking for the beauty, training my eyes to see beauty. Because a lot of times we're training our eyes to look at the imperfections, to look at the cellulites, to look at, the love handles and be like, oh, but what if we trained our eyes to really see the beauty in every aspect, right? So let's dive into, do you have some steps for any analytical brains out there that are watching us? Like, do you have steps in honoring the sacred temple and then we can probably even dive in with the diseases, like what can people do if they find themselves in that conversation?
Definitely. And as you were saying that, I was just thinking of one very big one that like I'm just really big on what we allow into our space.
Yeah, so big.
For me, I get to stay away from social media a lot of the time. I'm on there. I built my business through there, so it's a tricky dance. But it's literally built to compare. Like the way if you think about it, when you're scrolling through Instagram or like Facebook, naturally our brain starts measuring where we are related to that person, whether it is looks, career, like anything. So
This is
one
what
of the
we
first,
do. We
yeah.
are relational beings, so we are always relating. Absolutely, yes.
So in order for me to live my best life and to really live the way feels right for me, and I'm unique, you're unique, everyone is uniquely different. Like I get to not be in that comparing state all the time. And we're being trained in that through commercials, advertising, social media, movies, everywhere around us, we're being trained in that. So it's our responsibility to take our power back and really choose what we consume in terms of information and images and music.
And I really
Like,
want to stress this because you bring up such a great point. There are marketing budgets of billions of dollars that are being used to bombard you with information and advertising, like Lisanne is saying, that are really geared to make you feel like you're not enough and you need their product to be enough, right? So really keep that in mind, especially our music. I'm so happy you brought that up because there's something we call morphic resonance. We become what we listen to. So if you're listening to words that are constantly like, fuck this bitch and blah, 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 all that shit,
Right.
that it becomes your internal dialogue and that becomes how you relate to yourself. So good that you
And
brought
to
this up.
other people, like how we are learning to be in a relationship,
Yeah,
how we're learning to be like in partnership with like husband and wife and whatever in a love relationship,
yeah,
how we're relating to sex, how we're relating to bodies, like our everything is frequency, like, and our body is like all the water, like it takes on whatever resonance it's being exposed to. Music is vibration. Like, that's how we hear the tones. Like, it's just when you start thinking about it, it's like, oh wow. Like, I tend to not put on the radio or the TV because then I don't choose and I am not in control of what is coming into my space.
yes.
So that's the first one, is like actually, and are you surrounded not just by all of that, but also people, but also like I, for example, I'm very insensitive to energy. So I choose very carefully where I do my workouts. Because a lot of gyms, I walk into the gym and I can feel like everyone is comparing, not in there to love their bodies, but they're working out to punish their bodies. They're not good enough, so it's very external.
Wait, we need to pause right there because that's so good.
It
Sometimes
is.
we are working we are going to the gym out of complete freaking beat up and resistance. There's no vision and there's no love. You are in there and you're like all angry and shit at your body because, and then the energy is everything, right? Everything is energy. So if you are working out from a place of resistance, girl, you are holding on that weight fixed for dear life because there's no place to move. This is so good. Keep going.
No, that it's that. And like if you think about it, if we're doing something that doesn't feel good, if you go into um a, let's say you're going into a girl group or some group of friends where everyone is very judgmental, you're being watched, you're being like judged on every single little thing. How does your body feel?
Right.
It feels tense, it feels restricted, and everything that's restricting our body and our stress levels and our hormones go like, oh, we're gonna do this.
Right.
So if you're doing that to yourself and you're going into the gym and you're working out from that place of like, oh, like it needs to be a certain way and it can't be an of course you're like, first of all, it's not enjoyable. Like, I'm all for only doing what feels good. Because if it doesn't feel good, why would I waste my time, my precious time on this earth, on doing something that's gonna make me feel shit? Just don't see the point. And it's so simple, but we get so wrapped up in, like, of course, like, life gets more complicated,
Right.
but when we bring it back to basics, it's quite simple.
And maybe the gym is not your jam, right? Maybe it's yoga. Maybe it's a five rhythms class. Like that's how I really needed to work myself into being in my body and moving my body. Maybe the gym isn't for you. I don't do weights. I don't like it. It's not my jam. But what is good? What makes you feel good? And how can you do it from a place of loving your body versus judging your body? This is so good.
And that's exactly it. And maybe the gym is for you. Like, there's nothing wrong with anything.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with anything, except, is it going to serve you? Are you doing it? What is the intention? What is the reason that you're doing it?
Right.
And what is the result that you're trying to create? And that's like another thing, is really like I said before, like looking at what energizes and what drains you, what makes you feel good about yourself, because confidence is like a learned behavior. So instead of like also doing the external things and hoping that that is going to make me feel good about myself, shift away, or like it is an internal thing. And doing the affirmations and doing the work on ourselves, yes, that's all great, but don't expect it to shift overnight if it's something that you've been paying, like, you've been practicing 20 years to beat yourself up. not in one day it's going to shift and change.
Right.
So being graceful with our process and practicing, like, okay, so if I envision myself in my healthiest, fittest, most alive, vibrant, beautiful, gorgeous body, like, how do I then move through the world? What does that woman do? How is she being with people? And really, like, I love visioning. I like manifesting and just taking some time of like, okay, so what is actually, where am I at right now? Where would I like to, like, how would I like to feel? What would I like to create? How do I move? What do I wear? What do I say?
And let
And
go of
then
the
how,
numbers, right? Like, let go of the
yes,
bullshit weight numbers, like how much you want to weigh, because I think that creates a lot of pressure on people in how they need to get to that number. I love that you're bringing out, how do you want to feel? How do you want to move? What clothes do you want to wear? For me, it's all about the feeling. Yes.
because if you think about it, like the people around you, they all have different weights and sizes. Do you remember that? Do you remember the dress size that they're wearing? Or do you remember how they make you feel and what is it like to be in conversation with them?
Yeah.
Like what they're doing in the world. Are you impressed by how they're taking a stand for things? And we're talking a lot about body and weight here, or exercise, but it goes into everything because also in the personal development world, it's like we can almost start feeling wrong if we're having a bad day.
Yeah.
Or we can almost start feeling like, oh, like I have all the tools I should know. And I've been there. I'm like, I'm a coach. I should have this figured out by now. Like I know what I need to do. And that only makes it worse. And when I would give myself some grace and being like, actually, you're human. Like, it's fine. We can like allowing that and giving it space and actually being like, okay, today's not working. Let's take a step back, check in what's going on.
And let's bring that conversation into every aspect. The human comes before the coach. The human comes before the CEO. The human comes before the mother. Because I see a lot of people shitting themselves and really creating these expectations of where they need to be. But that grace that you're speaking about, really presencing that, first of all, first and foremost, you're a human. You get to really honor that. You come with spaces to have these breakdowns that will create these beautiful breakthroughs, but it can't all just be perfect and curated.
And that's the thing, and it comes back to the same as it when like, and that's why I'm so passionate about doing the work in the cancer and aftercare and all around that. Is like the human, the being that goes through that experience comes first. And when we empower that being, when we listen to that being, when we really figure out what works for that unique, beautiful expression of life, then everything else goes from there. Then we can talk about treatments, we can talk about emotional healing, we can talk about lifestyle. But what comes first is what actually, like, if we have a little seed, which is actually an apple tree, then nurturing and treating it like an avocado tree, like, it doesn't work. So we get to first figure out what is that seed, what is that beingness, what is that liveliness, and how can we optimize the journey for that human and soul.
Love that.
And if from there the external comes on top of that.
Yep. I love that. Now let's dive into disease. And I really believe that there's a metaphysical reason before the disease shows up. The disease is like a physical manifestation of the metaphysical condition that has been going on and on and on and on. Let's talk into that a little bit, because I think that's so important for people to really understand that connection to all of it.
Definitely. And we always say, like, life whispers to us and it says things louder and it starts screaming and it slaps you in the face. Right? We get the signs from life, from the universe, for whatever you want to call that amazing thing that we have no words for. It's beyond words. We try to put words on it. But it's the same with our body, and it's almost like you hear the whispers, you feel the signs, you feel the ickiness, you feel like there's something not quite right. You're not living life like you're fulfilled. Like you wake up every day and move through it with ease and grace and love and goodness, even in the shitty moments, even in the painful moments. Because I can be in my mess, but still move from a place of love. And if we're not moving through the world in that way, at some point you're going to get the signs and the signals of like, hey, gotta pay attention here because something isn't right. And the more we ignore that, the more life is like, well, I've got to give her a wake up call because this isn't working.
Right.
And at some point that starts manifesting in disease. And that's kind of like the more the woo-woo stuff. But if you think about it, our cells are like, our body's like a library. And there's like the neuroscience, like there is proof that emotions give a reaction in our cells. And if we don't process them, they get locked into those cells. And cells renew and regenerate themselves. But if they have the cell memory of that trauma, of that disease, they keep regenerating that trauma and disease in the new cell and the new cell and the new cell. And the longer we don't deal with things, the more those cells start to like, they start functioning less and less and less. The more they regenerate, the older we get, the less things start functioning. So the more we don't process, the more things we store into the body and don't actually clean out, the more those traumas or those whatever get a chance to manifest into disease. And it's just life telling us that there is something off and not working. That's kind of my stand on it.
No, I love that. I think, like, for example, thyroid cancer is something that is so prevalent in women. And when you look at the metaphysical meaning behind this throat cancer, it's women who are not speaking their truth and are not seeking out their joy. And a lot of times when I'm coaching people through that conversation, I'm like, when was the last time you did something that you loved? Name me 20 things that bring you joy. And they're just like at deer in headlights, like, I don't know. So I think it's so important to start to being inquisitive and curious about what this disease, what this manifestation, what this gift is telling us. Because there's a message, like you're saying, there's a message underneath it. It's been trying to get our attention. And sometimes it does take the cancer to get our attention. And I really stress people not to just focus on the doing. Yes, do all that you need to do to take care of you. But at the same time, invest the time and the curiosity to understand how this manifested so that you can start overriding it from the root of it. This is so beautiful. I want to move on to our last question. And first of all, I want to thank you, Lisanne, for such a important, vital conversation, because a lot of people are going through it. And like I said, they're not talking about it. There's like that, I don't want anybody to know. I don't want to feel the pity. I don't want to feel people feeling sorry for me. So they'll cave in, they'll retreat, they'll deal with it with their family and with the people they choose. But we do really get to bring these conversations to the forefront so people can start diving in with the proper tools and support. So thank you for gracing us with your knowledge and your time and for saying yes to being a part of this. My last question, darling, that I ask all of my speakers is, what are 2 to 3 tips that you believe are vital in creating an epic year?
The first thing that comes to mind is create space for you.
Wait, say that again.
Create space for you.
Create space for you.
Create I call it white space. It's time in my calendar where there's no appointments, nothing scheduled, no intentions, no journaling or things or whatever. It's just white space. It can be an hour, 15 minutes, can be a whole day, but that's space for me. where I get to be and listen and tap into whatever is being asked of me in that moment. Because when we create this space, when we create that space for presence and space to listen and tune in, that's where we actually realize where we're meant to go next or what we're meant to do.
Love
Instead of just being in the doing and we're going and like, I've got this plan, I've got this goal, and I'm going to do this and this and this. But your mind can only comprehend what it already knows. And what we've been doing so far has got us here, but it won't get us there. So we get to tap into that mystic, amazing, infinite wisdom that is available for us about what is next, where we are meant to go. But we can only tap into that if we create the space for that to speak to us. And that's through our body, our heart, our soul, God, spirit, nature, journaling. Like, it can express in so many ways. But creating that space always gives me the answers about what that next level is going to be or what steps I get to take to go there.
Love that.
So that's number one. Number two, just go for it. Like, I was having a conversation yesterday. I was just like, anything I'm curious about of how that will be or that a way of living, I just go for it and try it out. Because how will I know if that is the thing that's going to give me the biggest and most amazing joy if I haven't tried it? I could sit at home fantasizing all day what it will look like for me to travel full time. But it wasn't until I said, like, okay, I'm dropping everything, I'm just going to take the leap, that I actually was able to experience what it is like to travel full time and live out of my suitcase and not have a house or a home. And just by doing that, I now realize that it's not for me. That I love this journey, I love these 9 months, and I'm very ready to create my own sacred home. It took me being away from my family for Christmas holidays for the first time in my life to realize, actually, I really love being home with my family during Christmas.
Yeah.
But if I haven't tried things out, if I haven't been willing to go all in, give everything my all, and then see if it's not working for me, knowing that I can come back or renegotiate commitments or change my mind, then I'm never going to know. So whatever scares you the most, whatever is like most like, oh my God, I want to try it, but I'm afraid, just go fucking do it. There's no failing. There's no falling. There's no, like, you always figure it out. And I think that is already enough. Following the whispers, like creating space for you to be able to hear the whispers, and then just go and do them, because there is really no risk. The only risk is that you're missing out of what your life could have looked like.
And there's a book, I forget the name of it, maybe you know, but there's a book with research of this person that interviewed all these people in hospice, and they asked them what their number one regret is, and he said, the majority said, not going after what I truly wanted. So let that be your lesson. Don't wait until you're in the hospice freaking regretting you should have skydived, you should have done this, that. Really go after, like Lisanne is saying so beautifully, go after the whispers. I love how she framed the first one, create white space, and then the second one, go after that, go all in. Thank you, Mama. Thank you so much again for your time, your presence, your wisdom. Thank you so much for those of you that joined us live and commented and are with us. We'll be back live at 2. We have 4 more interviews to go, so send me your love and energy.
You're doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I really, really love this.
Thank you. All right, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye, Mama.